All righty. Welcome back to the HE Dynasty podcast with Logan Cheek and Matt Poole.
What's going on?
Um, no, not much. Another week in review here. So this is a week 9 review. We had some big matchups in week 9. I don't think that's a secret. We had a lot of top teams going after each other, and definitely set the tone for what the league's going to look like moving forward. Poole, I think the biggest thing though, it's not the matchups, it's the moves that are taking place in the last week.
Yeah, we've got three trades in the last week. We extended the trade deadline this year, and looks like a bunch of teams are starting to make some moves. We're really going to see who's going to go for this title and who's looking forward to next year.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what I was going to say. Is I think the big thing about this is you're starting to see at least the three teams that are planning on being in the lottery. They're starting to make some moves, and that's Jack, Garrett, and Q. That fourth lottery position, we'll get into that a little bit. Right now, it's kind of a crazy one, but
Insane.
yeah, we'll get into that in a little bit. So the first trade that it happened about a week ago was you receiving Drake May, Cooper Cup, Jake Ferguson, Zay Flowers, and Jack sent those over for Dak Prescott in a first rounder for this year. I think this one's an even trade. You are in a spot now to where you've had a very surprising year. I think that's safe to say. You're producing at a higher level, so you kind of want to make that next step, especially losing Malik Neighbors. And then obviously Jack, like we said, we did kind of put him on fraud watch there,
hmm
and he's lost two in a row since then. So doing that, I think it puts Jack in a good place to rebuild off this strong draft class that he had, and it makes you a little more competitive with the number one tight end left now because Tucker Kraft tore his ACL, but and then Zay Flowers as well with Drake May playing really well. Obviously, you support the trade. I'm sure you made it, but you
Yeah.
got anything to say about it?
Yeah. I was trying to I've been talking to him for a couple weeks about a trade. We just never could get anything done, but finally settled on Zay Flowers, and then a couple throw-ins there like Cooper Cup. Might start him a couple weeks depending on bye weeks and stuff, but definitely love getting Drake May. I love Dak. He did great for my team, but I think Drake May, with how young he is, I think there's a good chance for me to keep him for at least one more year going forward with him having a low salary, having this MVP type year he is, and then getting, the number one tight end in football, Jake Ferguson, with already having Harold Fannin, another young tight end on my team. That was nice. And then number one receiver on the Ravens, getting Lamar's best receiver. It's hard not to like that. I did give up a first rounder, but the thing I kind of told myself was, I'm getting Malik Neighbors back next year, so I'll just see that as getting a first rounder, him being my first rounder. And Dak just kind of threw that in because I'd rather Jack have him since he already has Mahomes, and he's obviously going to start Mahomes rather than just dropping Dak and letting another contender pick him up and that coming back to bite me. So it's just kind of a throw in to get the trade done. But yeah, so far I'm happy with it, and we'll see if it can help me, make the playoffs and maybe make a deep run this year.
Yeah, yeah. So the next one, it flew under the radar, but it is a very big trade because obviously Cam Skatteboo's injury. So Grant received Tyrone Tracy for a second rounder. I think that's also a very fair trade. Actually, at work on Tuesday, one of the guys there had a question for me, and he was sending Tyrone Tracy for a second rounder, and I said that he needed to probably do it if he wasn't contending because really Grant needs him for this year because Grant is a competitor or a contender regardless of what that record says.
Mm-hmm.
And Garrett, when are you going to ever get a second rounder for Tyrone Tracy other than right now?
Yeah.
Because you have to jump on whenever you have to sell high whenever
Yeah.
you're in a position like Garrett, and I think he did a very good job of that. I think it's a very fair trade. I think it's kind of that's fine. It doesn't really move the needle trade, but for Grant, it adds a ton of depth which he needs because he kind of he's obviously been scoring a ton of points, but he has lost three in a row, and like I said, we'll get to that later because he's kind of getting screwed. But Tyrone Tracy will be more than likely that bell cow back, along with Devin Singletary a little bit in New York. It's not Cam Skatteboo, but it's the handcuff there.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's not a trade that's just going to make you go wow, but it's kind of a no-brainer for both because, the position Garrett's in, obviously looking forward to the future. Just get another second rounder, another rookie that you can add to your team next year. And then for Grant, him having Scatterboon, him going down, you get his handcuff, and obviously he'll be the lead back now. He does have some pretty tough matchups coming up, but I think, just giving up a second rounder for him, it's not a huge deal, and I think it is worth it for him going forward.
Yeah, and also, I mean, surprisingly for Garrett, I mean, it could end up being a top four second round pick. I mean, I don't think Grant's in the lottery. I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen, but
We've
it's
seen
probably
crazier.
yeah, it's probably not going to be the 10th, ninth, or I'd say even eighth one at this point. So you're getting a mid second there, I would say, and
Yeah.
that's a fair deal. So the last one is the one that was made today. So Colton moved to get Kyron Williams, and he gave up a 27 first, 27 third, and 28 second. And so I understand Colton's want to compete, and so I mean I get this move for him as much as I like giving him shit for it. I don't know if Kyron Williams would be a super long term guy, but I mean, Colton's going to finish, back into the first round here for his draft pick. So I get it, but I think the big story is, I mean, it makes Colton a better competitor. He's not having to start Tony Pollard or people that have been really not producing. I mean, Q is just Q stacking up right now,
Yep.
and he's got a somewhat, he's not the most competitive right now. He has a good team, but we all know his ability to draft is, probably number one or number two in this league. And he's sitting pretty with two first rounders, three first rounders for 27. And for me, I mean, I think it's no secret that draft class in 2 years is going to look pretty damn good. So Jeremiah Smith, Ryan Williams, like all those guys. And I mean, I Q could end up in a Marvin Harrison Malik Neighbor situation on the same team there. So
Yep.
I think he's building good for the future. I do understand Colton's attempt here to compete because I mean we'll talk about the results from this week, but he is needing to win with some bye weeks coming up.
Yeah, like you said, Q's just stocking for the future. Having three first round picks in that 2027 class is just insane. He's got five first rounders the next 2 years. Yeah, I have no doubt. Even next year, I think he's going to make the playoffs again next year. And then I don't know. I think 2027 might finally be his year, depending on how these picks work out. But still a whole nother year to go before that. And I've been looking at some mocks and some dynasty rankings for 2027. It can change quickly, but yeah, I mean, Q, just him, Garrett, Jack, some of these guys, we know who the bottom three are going to be. They've kind of accepted their fate this year. Still looking to see who that fourth one's going to be, but yeah, like you said, for Colton, I mean, he's never one to love to keep his picks. He likes going forward every single year. So yeah, I mean, it's a pretty on par move for him.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So that's all the moves that have been made. We've had some waiver wire guys, nothing really to move the needle to spend a lot of time on. So like I said, this is our review, so we can just get kind of right into the matchups and talk about the effects it had on the league. Like I said, we had our top four guys. Well, our top four that we believe are contenders went against each other this week with me, Ty, Colton, and Grant. And so that was a big that was two big matchups there. And then we also had some of those at the time we thought bubble matchups. Later we were there to find out that maybe Q wasn't so set on being a contender. And so we can kind of go through them and talk about them individually. So the first one's going to be myself and Colton. So this was a big matchup on paper, good rivalry. Always have been competitive games. Ended up not being as tight as we thought. The projections were definitely in my favor. I was projected 21 points to beat him by 21 points, and a lot of that is, I mean, he had a couple bye week guys that I just didn't have to worry about. So I didn't have anybody on bye, and the main takeaways for me from my team is, I mean, I couldn't be happier with Jackson Dart. He had 27 this week. He came in. He gets the rushing potential. Had a rushing touchdown, a couple passing touchdowns. against a good 49ers defense. And then just the depth kind of got him, is what happened. You had pretty much everybody in my lineup except for Olave got double digit points. And so whenever that happens, it's going to be tough to beat. I mean, I scored 164 points. He only scored 100. I think that was the main thing that helped was you didn't have your Jonathan Taylor 30-point game. He had six. Javonte Williams had six. Ted McMillan had six. Jamar Chase had 14, which I will take any day of the week. And then, like I said, Tony Pollard, he's only had, it feels like single digit games all year. So that Kyron Williams pickup will help him. But
Mm-hmm.
it was a little too late for him on that one. His team just didn't perform like they could have. And like I said, I mean, he had A.J. Brown on bye. But outside of that, just team didn't perform this week.
No, and like you said, Jonathan Taylor, you're just kind of expecting him to go out there and score 20, 30 points every week. He only had six. And then Daniel Jones, I mean, of Colts on Fraud Watch, I mean, I don't know. Daniel Jones finally starting to look like the guy we come to know. But yeah, like you said, his team just underperformed. McMillan only had 6 points. He didn't do much this week. Yeah, Javonte Williams only 6 points. We're used to both of those running backs having, at least 15 to 20 a week. And then with Daniel Jones finally coming down to earth, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
know. We'll see going forward. And then, Jamar Chase not getting his usual 19 targets a week. But, yeah, we'll see. I mean, your team just, pretty steady throughout. A lot of pretty the same scores throughout, a bunch of 12, 15, 18, 20 points. And like you said, his team just didn't show up this week.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor averaging 23.5 points a week and gets six. I mean, that's going to be tough to win with. So,
Yeah.
like I said, it is what it is. I mean, I don't think it's going to affect Colton's confidence too much in his team's ability to win this whole thing. And it doesn't make me think any more of mine. I caught him on a good week, and we're on to next week, I guess, for old
Yep.
Dart Vader. But it's good. It's good to do that in second place and know you have the win over Colton. That never hurts.
And it's got to be a good feeling seeing Dart do this even without Malik Neighbors. Just got to it has to make you feel better about the future. And I don't know, maybe you keep him for another year or two and just kind of see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, full transparency. I've been shopping Joe Burrow because I'm confident Jackson Dart's going to be the guy for me for at least the next couple of years. With
Mm-hmm.
salary considerations, I could see me keeping him up to $12 or $13 even. So we'll see.
Especially with that rushing upside, if he can give you that every week, I mean
Yeah,
that's even more reason to keep him.
for sure. So the next matchup I have here on the slate is the Dalton versus Jack matchup. So this was
Pretty
kind
close
of
matchup.
yeah, it was a close matchup. It's kind of a little bit of a snooze fest there with 106-95 being the final score, but tight.
Mm-hmm.
So like we said, I mean, Jack has pretty much made his bed in the lottery at this point, but Dalton will be, in my opinion, one of those teams fighting for that last playoff spot, and a big part of that is, he has the star power of the Bijan, the Justin Jefferson, and all that, but it just feels like kind of lately. I mean, they haven't been going crazy. Bijan has. He's had some big games previously, but in his last three, he's had 18, 4, and 13. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of, got to be a little worrisome for him. Jefferson's been okay. He's had, I mean, not really, actually, looking at it. He's had, since the bye week, he's had 10, 10, and 13. Like, you're just not going to win with the way Dalton's built his team like that. But obviously, this week he did because Jack didn't put up over 100 points. Roma Dunze had 0. Vidal had 3. It was kind of an ugly matchup outside of Brock Bowers. I mean, Brock Bowers went crazy. If he didn't
Mm-hmm.
have 40, Jack would have scored 60 points. But um, Dalton dodged that Brock Bowers bullet, and we'll see how Dalton does on the stretch here. But like I said, I don't think it's a secret. He'll probably be one of the people that are competing there in that 7-6-5 spot for the playoffs.
Yeah, Dalton's team just continues to disappoint me this year. You go into the season, and I'm sure he had high hopes. I had high hopes for him, with that three-headed
Yeah.
monster at running back. Now the only one left is Bijan Robinson, and like you said, last 3 weeks he's just been kind of meh. And Justin Jefferson obviously hasn't been himself this year, even though it looks like the quarterback situation might be okay there now. But you just expect more than 13 out of him. And then as far as all of his flex players, like there's no one here that just sticks out. It's just just a bunch of okay guys. I mean, Torrey Horton had 18. That was good, but I mean, he's got JSN who he's got to compete for targets with, and
And Rashid
it's
Shaheed now.
and yeah, exactly. And it's just you can't expect that every week. I mean, I don't know. I'm just real disappointed in his team. I don't have a whole lot of faith in his team going forward. I thought maybe he would be the last team in, but I don't know with Grant down there. I mean, I've got it being between Grant and Jake. I don't know if Dalton has the firepower anymore, but it could always turn around. If Bijan goes back to having, you know, 20, 25 point weeks, and then Justin Jefferson can figure it out. Maybe that changes. But yeah, Jack, like you said, he knows where he's at this point. He's looking forward to next year. Adunze, the only Bears player to not make our defense look like shit this week.
Yeah.
Could not believe that. RJ Harvey, though, I mean, he's got to be happy with kind of how he's progressed here the last few weeks, having 14 points this week, and then obviously Bowers just having a monster game. But other than that, like, you look around on his team, and even Mahomes only had 10 points. Like, just not a lot there.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll give Jack or Dalton, excuse me, a little slack. He started Tyler Algier, and he's starting Torrey Horton, which paid off for him, and he's doing that because the Eagles were on bye.
Oh, you're right.
So Saquon was out, Devontae Smith was out, and I mean, as long as Bucky Irving is out, then Rashad White is that guy there in Tampa Bay. But I think we all expect Bucky to come back here pretty soon. So obviously, he traded him away. So I mean, with the Justin Jefferson deal. So at the end of the day, Dalton could get hot and get in the playoffs. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I think we were kind of forgetting about Saquon there on that bye week, but still, like, you got to have a little bit of depth and you got to have a little bit of faith in those flex options. And I just don't know if I really do as much for Jack as I do some other people that are trying to compete. Dalton, I keep saying Jack. So the next one that I got is your matchup, and I mean there wasn't a lot.
Bloodbath.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot to talk about this one. I think we're all aware that Garrett is vying for that number one overall pick, and your team just went crazy. I mean, McCaffrey had 30, Higgins had 30, freaking Rico Dowdle had 30 again. Is he the best running back in the freaking history of the NFL? I mean, at this point, I mean he's going crazy, but Garrett, that's honestly enough on your team because everybody played well. There's no real secrets. Nothing really crazy happened. For Garrett, I was glad to see Travion Henderson get in the game and get to work with Ramondre out. He didn't have a stellar game by any means. Did show a lot in the passing game. He had 4 catches for 32 yards. Obviously, Jaden Daniels is not doing Garrett any favors this year, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't offer a first round pick for him at about week 3, whenever Burrow got hurt. Thank God he didn't take that. But Woody Marks didn't do a whole lot. Matthew Golden didn't do a whole lot. So his younger guys they're still learning in the NFL. They're still trying to get down in the rhythm of being consistent players and being able to have the output of fantasy production that we'd expect. A lot of people talk about people being good NFL players but not great fantasy players, and that's kind of those guys right now. But I do see a bright future with him. Obviously, I think another big story for you is it's good to see Marvin Harrison play competent football with a quarterback change.
I mean, it almost brought a tear to my eye watching him the other night. I've been waiting so long for this man. If he can just do this for me on a week in and week out basis,
Yeah.
it's going to be worth every day that I defended him in the group chat. The biggest thing for Garrett, I mean, he's just got to worry about Jaden Daniels' health at this point. I mean, this is 2 big injuries for him now, and you just got to hope that he can find a way to stay healthy. Because you look around at his team, a bunch of these guys probably aren't going to be there next year. He's just got a lot of filler on his team right now. He does have Matthew Golden, who you hope pans out. Haven't really seen that yet this year. I mean, he's going to have a lot of money to spend this offseason, too, because he's got some big salary guys like Kelsey, who's probably not going to be around next year. But, Travion, it was nice to see the Patriots have some faith in him and him getting 14 rush attempts. And like you said, had a good day in the pass game. Really not much to say here. This blowout's kind of expected. It was one of those games, I just had to win to keep myself alive. And I've got a few of those coming up. But, really not much to say about this one.
Yeah, I think the main takeaway for for your team is having games like this is a massive advantage because I don't think it's a secret. This league is going to come down to points scored in a lot of in the playoff run because a lot of teams are going to have the same record. So whenever you can put up 177 points, it's a big advantage because you may have outscored a possible playoff team by 70 points today
Hmm.
or this week, and that's a big help whenever it comes down to that time. So next is the second big game there. It actually may have been the biggest game with a lot of people was Ty and Grant.
Hmm.
So you know, low scoring game, much lower scoring than I thought we'd see. We did have some bye week here for Ty, and that's actually why I believe Grant would win this game, but he didn't. So Ty got Lamar back. That was a massive help. He put up 25 for him, and then Drake London with 3 touchdowns had a crazy one handed catch in the corner of the end zone. Really led Ty's team to the victory there. Grant had a lot of people that normally provide a lot of consistency. Tyler Warren, Keenan Allen, people like that just didn't really show up. James Cook, and then obviously Tyrone Tracy. He had 5 carries in this game, and you know that's kind of worrisome a little bit because I know Devin Singletary got some work too, and he gave up that pick for him. I do think he'll be okay, but it was really honestly both teams scored a decent amount over 100 solely because of quarterback play, really.
Hmm.
But I do think both of these guys are contenders. I still believe in Grant, but I mean at this point it's like, man, is he just going to keep getting unlucky? Is he not going to make the playoffs? Because
Yeah.
I mean it's unlike anything I've seen really. So I do hope that Grant does get a little bit more favorable matchups here. I'm starting to feel a little bad for the guy.
I mean, he
Uh,
deserves to be in the playoffs as
I
good as
mean,
he's
yeah,
been this year. Just some bad luck.
yeah, for sure. And then
Yeah.
I think the last thing is, I mean, we're all aware of it, but Ty's officially tied in you. Gadsden continues to be decent. Hunter Henry was fine for him. Trey McBride, George Kittle, all these people. It's just amazing how Ty's built his team around tight ends and been successful with it. But like I said, Ty gets the win, 132 to 118. But I think we all expect this to be a possible playoff matchup, possibly late in the playoffs as well.
I thought it was going to be the championship matchup. I had these as my top two
Yeah,
teams,
that's what we predicted. Yeah.
the last few weeks. And Grant, I mean, and I didn't even really notice. I looked at the standings this week. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's not even in the
Yeah.
playoffs right now. He's the first team out. But I'm going to continue to believe he's going to get it turned around. I think these are quite possibly the best two teams in the league. Like you said, Tyler Warren, just no one on the Colts really showed up this week. Monroe had a decent game. Jordan Addison kind of had a down week. Debo, only 6 points. Um, James Cook only with 13. You kind of expect more out of him. And then obviously Tracy only having 5 carries. Rasheed Rice continues to look like a good pickup for him. Kind of, looks worth those those 2 first rounders he gave up for him. But yeah, I expect it to turn around. I don't know who he's got coming up on the schedule, but you'd like to see a couple of easy games there for him because 4-5 with that team he has it's crazy how bad of luck he's had the last few weeks.
Yeah. I think he's got Jack next week, and then I think he plays you, Jake, and Q to finish the season. So you're not playing the world beaters, but you're also not playing pushovers there in a lot. I mean, he has 2 sellout, or 2 teams that are more looking for the lottery, but he's going to have to win more than 2 games to get in the playoffs, in my opinion. I think you have to win 3 to get up there to the 5 and 4 seed. The thing he does have going for him, obviously, is he does have the most points scored in the league. So all he has to do is get tied for that sixth position, and he'll be in there more than
If
likely.
he can get 7, I think he's in, being that he
Yeah,
has the most points in the league. If he can continue to keep the most points in the league, I think 7 will get him in. I think someone with 7 could very well get left out this year.
yeah, I think that's fair as well. All right, we'll go to the next game here,
I
and
think the
that's
last game
going to
is
be the
Jake and
last one.
Q.
Yep. So Jake and Q, obviously very close game. Came down to Monday night and
Mm-hmm.
late in the game, and I was sitting there. I was watching George Pickens to see if he was going to get Jake in this win or not. But I did. I think we all were pretty sure that if Q lost this game, it was time to get out and time to accept your fate. You got a bright future, and and that's exactly what he did. Obviously, um, Jake's team continues to be just kind of there, hanging around. I do think his team is better than this performance shows. I don't know if he's going to win the title by any means, but I do think that he'll be. Yeah, I think he'll be in the playoffs, especially with this win going 5-4. Um, he has the consistency through the board with like McConkey, and Waddle's been good since Tyreek's injury, but his flex positions are kind of where it gets a little iffy. With Booty, he got hurt. Wandale's been a great pickup with Malik Neighbors out, but Christian Watson's kind of your boomer bust guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there's not really a lot to talk about. Q. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't been shopping around some of these guys a little bit more. I mean, obviously Tucker Craft tore his ACL. I know Colton was reaching out to him last week about Tucker Craft, so he's lucky he didn't bite on that one.
Mm-hmm.
But you got some older guys on here that I don't think Q intends on keeping. It just all comes down to salary potential with like your Devontae Adams, your uh, Cortland Suttons, your people like that are
Mm-hmm.
a little older that you're probably not going to have for his playoff pushes maybe next year or the year after. But he does have some solid guys on the roster that I think he may try to move here that produce week in, week out.
Yeah, like you said, Q, think he's just looking forward to next year, and I think this game was the final nail in that coffin that really kind of led him to tank for next year, so to say. As far as Jake goes, I continue to think like and I had a good week, but I'm still not 100% sold on my team. I think those last two spots are going to come down to me, him, and Dalton. It's just going to be whose team doesn't play slapdick as much as the other two these last few weeks. Because I don't have the easiest schedule coming up, but I mean, it's just like him and Dalton's team kind of are almost the same, really. It's just kind of the same team where, your flex spots, there's no one that really sticks out at you other than George Pickens for him. But, yeah, we'll see. I definitely think that it's going to come down to us three who get spot 5 and 6. And I think my biggest problem is just you don't expect some of these players on my team to go off like they have been every week, and I'm just waiting for it to, finally catch up with me. But yeah, Jake squeaks by with a win. A win's a win in this league, as tough as it is. 5-4, you move ahead. You just hope you can keep stacking them up.
Yeah, I mean, right now the way it's stacking up, I think unless something crazy happens, I do think you and Grant are probably going to make it in. You guys have, of course, Grant obviously does. You also have a pretty large points for advantage on Jake and Dalton, especially almost a couple hundred points, 150 points, 140 points for Dalton, or 100, yeah, 40 points for Dalton, 120 points for Grant or Jake. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 120 points in 4 weeks is a lot, especially whenever you have bye weeks and everything else still going on. And I do
Mm-hmm.
think your team is showing out, maybe a little bit more than we expected. But also, I mean, like I said, we're week 10 now. Like, it is what it is. You are what you
Yeah.
are at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're just inching closer to that playoff race. I think we'll see some more moves made, possibly, with that trade deadline pushed out, and people kind of getting a little bit more clarity of where they're standing, and then also it just gives more time for an injury to happen to free up some cap space as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking forward to this next week. The one thing I will say, I think this is the week where we really find out who the playoff teams are and who that last spot is who won't make it. I mean, you got a lot of tough matchups. I mean, I'm going up against Jake this week. Um, both 5-4. You and Dalton, you can either push him closer to selling out, or if he can have an upset, he's got to think he's all the way back in it. You got Ty and Garrett. That's not really much to talk about. You got Colton and Q. That one, probably not much to talk about. But then you got Jack and Grant, which Jack's 4-5. If he can get a win there, I mean, maybe he thinks he's right back in it. And if Grant
Jack
loses,
also has a good amount of points scored compared to a couple of people in fighting for that bubble spot.
you would like to think Grant pulls one out this week. But if he doesn't, I mean, then He's got to be hitting the panic button if he's
Oh
4 and
man,
6.
yeah. If Grant doesn't pull this one out and Grant gets a little closer to that playoff, that lottery. I mean, I think it would be one of the bigger shockers I've ever seen in fantasy football, and I've played it for a while now.
Oh yeah, especially with him giving up 2 first rounders for Rashee Rice, who's obviously worked out for him.
Who's
But
been worth it? Yeah,
yeah, but I mean, yeah, I think this week will definitely be the craziest week up to this point. I'm sure once we get down the final couple of weeks, when it's really inching down to the playoffs, if there's a team with the same records and it goes off points and stuff, it's gonna be really stressful. But I think this is the biggest week to date yet, with just the matchups and how close the standings are.
yeah. Every week's a little bit more stressful, and every week provides a little bit more, insight on where we're going, and that's not only playoffs, lottery. You get two buys in the playoffs as well, so the
Mm-hmm.
teams up top are always fighting for something every week as well. Everybody has something to play for still. You don't have anybody who's ran away and hit or anything like that, so that's good. I'm looking forward to this week, week 10.
5 weeks till the playoffs.
5 weeks. So we'll catch you guys up on the old preview. Probably send it out Saturday, and we'll kind of go through the matchups here, and if there's any more moves made between now and then, which definitely possible. There's been 3 in the last week. So, but yeah, so it was a good week, week 9. We avoided a decent amount of major injuries. I mean, you had Jaden Daniels go out, a couple people we get dinged up, but nothing crazy. So that's always good for everybody. But hopefully we did a good job here, and we get excited about this upcoming week with week 10, this preview. So that's all I got. Poole, you have anything else to provide anything for this review?
No, just scanning the waiver wire, seeing if there's anyone I'm interested in picking up. Just trying to make it a week at a time at this point. It's exciting for most people. It's stressful for me. I haven't made the playoffs since the year I won the championship, so I'm just doing everything I can in my power to make it back there.
Yeah, well, I know there's some trade talks and everything else going on amongst some people, so we'll see if we have any extra news coming for you on Saturday. But all righty, well, appreciate you guys for listening, and we're gonna go on and sign off here. And just remember, go Dart Vader. And if you ever want to send anybody that can help me contend a little bit more, just send it on over.
Fuck Zach Taylor. Fuck Duke Tobin. Peace.